So I've been thinking about this quite a lot recently. What's the difference between a high performance student and a high performance person? And by high performance person, I mean someone who has already graduated, they're making a living doing whatever they're doing, but they're extremely successful at it. They're likely incredibly wealthy, at the top of their game or industry. They've just got their life in check, and you can see that they're having a massive positive impact, and as a result, achieving massive success. Because it's quite a controversial subject. Just because someone is getting good grades and successful at school and university, are those skills transferable to the real world? So in this video, I'm going to go through 6 high performance habits of successful students that also translate to high performance habits in the real world too. So if you're doing these things at university or at school, if you're doing these things, then there's a good chance if you continue carrying out these habits regularly that you're going to be successful after you graduate too. Study to learn, not for the exam. High performance students are not just studying because they want to memorize just enough information to do well in the exam. They are studying because they genuinely want to learn. They are hungry for knowledge, and this is equally the same for people that are incredibly successful in the real world too. It's just a different form of education. So at university, you're studying a formal education with a set curriculum and exams, whereas in the real world, you're studying an informal education with no set curriculum. So for example, I studied economics and finance at university. I studied economics because I'm interested about the world economy, on the trade war between the US and China, on the global inequality and unequal economic development. But I'm also interested in money, in stocks and shares, in personal finance, in how corporations handle and manage their money. So throughout my whole economics and finance degree, I was always relating what I was learning at university to the real world. And that leads me on nicely onto habit number 2. Keep up to date with current affairs. I've not met one single person that is incredibly successful and they don't know what's going on in the real world. They all know vast amounts of knowledge in the industry that they're in and that they're successful in, but they also know about the conflict between Gaza and Israel, for example, or the latest plans set out by President Biden. And for me, every single morning for the last, 7-8 years, the first thing I do after my alarm goes off in the morning is open up the BBC News app on my phone and be updated with what's going on around the world. And the benefits I find in reading the news, just for 10 minutes or so in the morning, is that it keeps me up to date with current affairs. I keep up with what's going on around the world, and it really gives me more perspective in that there's more going on around the world than what I'm seeing in front of me in my own life. It was particularly beneficial for me as someone who studied for an economics degree because it provides news about countries' economic situations, the trade wars going on around the world, and a lot of the theory that I was learning at university, I could then apply them in real life and almost see things play out with real countries and real economies. They invest in themselves. High performance students are not afraid to invest in themselves, to spend money or other resources to build their skill set up. They know that one of the biggest investments they can make is in themselves. So I launched the Product Heal on 30 Days Transformation Challenge a couple of months ago. There's a link in the description below, but in that course, I'm working with one-on-one some incredibly high performance students. So I mean students that really are in the top 1% or even in the top 0.5% in some cases. And I'm coaching them, I'm supporting them to squeeze out every inch of performance that they have. But just talking to these students, I can see the inspiration and motivation and the drive that they have in their voices. It really is incredible. It's incredibly inspiring for me just to talk to them. But they're not afraid to invest in themselves because they know that the more they invest in themselves, the more they buy courses, the more they read books, the more they hire a tutor or study coach, the more they go to networking events. They move one step closer to achieving their goals. Calculated risks. High performance students take risks. Just like in the real world, in order to achieve massive success, you can achieve that by staying in your comfort zone. So for example, I've never been any good at maths. Throughout high school, maths was one of my weakest subjects by a long way. But there was one problem. I wanted to study economics and finance, but my course was extremely maths intensive. So I could have done one of two things. I could have chose a different degree like business administration or marketing or something like that that involves less maths. Or I could bite the bullet, take the risk, and just study economics and finance anyway, but double down on my weakness, so doubling down on the maths. And that's what I chose to do. Economics was also a far more demanding and intensive course compared with other subjects like business and marketing. So the percentage of people that graduated with a 4.0 GPA in economics was less than 5%, whereas the people that graduated with a 4.0 GPA in business and marketing was over 10%. So I could have made my life so much easier. I could have gone the easier route in so many ways, but I chose not to, and I'm so glad that I didn't. I genuinely believe I've grown so much more as a person because my university course was so difficult. If it was easy, there's no growth in that. Self-care. High performance students look after themselves. They get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. They eat healthily, they exercise regularly, they socialize regularly, they prioritize their mental and physical health above everything else. If their studying is prioritized in second place, their health comes in first place. And this is because they're looking at the big picture. They have long-term goals they want to achieve. They're not living like animals, living every day as it comes and not really thinking about or preparing or building themselves up for the future. And they know that they need to be healthier in order to achieve their goals. They know that they need to be healthy to achieve incredible success in the long term. So everyone can pull an overnighter, everyone can cram in their revision the night before an exam, but how long can they keep going and keep doing that until they start burning out? So a high performance students make sure that their life is balanced. They are prioritizing their studying and studying intensely when it is time to study, which gives them time to do extra things like hang out with friends and network and exercise, because they know that for their mental and physical health, these things are essential. Visualization. Visualization is an incredibly powerful success strategy, and it's used by some of the most successful business people, millionaires, billionaires, world leaders, Olympic athletes. So take Olympic athlete, for example, an Olympic runner. Right before a race, when there's thousands or even millions of people staring at them, they know that the worst thing they can do is visualize all the things that could possibly go wrong, right? So tripping up at the start line when the race begins, or coming in last place at the finish line. And well-trained athletes know not to visualize the failures, because imagining poor performance increases the likelihood that the runner will actually do those things during the race. So instead, they visualize their goals right before the race. They visualize themselves winning the race. They visualize themselves smashing the world record, and by focusing on the positives, that outcome is far more likely to happen. And throughout university, I was doing this without even realizing it. I was visualizing opening the letter with my grades on it and seeing that 4.0 GPA there, and there was absolutely no doubt in my mind that that would happen. At no point in the 3 years studying for my degree did I think I wasn't going to achieve my main goal of achieving a 4.0 GPA. And Dan Pena, who was an American businessman who made his success in the oil industry in the 80s, and he talks quite a lot about visualization. He says that when he was young, he'd go into luxury car dealerships like Ferrari and Rolls-Royce and sit in the cars and visualize themselves buying them in the future when he becomes successful. He called this process smelling the leather, because when he was visualizing buying the cars, he would literally smell the brand new leather. And Grant Cardone also did a similar thing, where he would go to luxury estates and find massive million-dollar mansions that were for sale and pretend that he was going to buy them. So he'd call up the real estate company and book a viewing. Even though at the time he was, in his own words, poor and had no money, it was the idea of visualizing something so deeply that you match your actions with your visualization and you make it happen. Because a lot of being a high performance person is just self-belief. You really need to vehemently believe that you can achieve whatever you're aiming for. If you genuinely believe, and I mean if you really believe that you can graduate in the top 1% of your class, and you study towards it, but not only towards your goals, but you study beyond it. You study on a level that is higher, that is beyond your goal, then there's no doubt that you'll achieve it. And if you want to become a high performance student and achieve the top grades in your class, or even if you just want to level up your studying and achieve the next grade up, then I walk you through it through the 30 days of training in the Transform Your Grades in 30 Days challenge. There's a link in the description below. I provide one-on-one coaching. There's a private Facebook community, there's worksheets, there's exercises, there's quizzes. It's aimed to be able to transform your grades and give you a massive boost within 30 days. And right now there's a 50% discount offer. So if you do decide to take me up on that offer, I'll see you over there.